Good morning, everyone,
Whoa, whoa,
and
whoa, hold on, hold on.
good morning, everyone. Welcome to our FAA webinar series. Everyone, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a couple moments right now, we're waiting until the rest of the attendees filter in. We'll plan to start our presentation in about 2 minutes from now. Thank you, everyone. Good morning again, everyone. Summer is here, and we're very excited to be continuing the FAA webinar series into the latter half of the year. Welcome to our newest edition, our Ansible Automation webinar on Windows. My name is Jeff Thompson, and I'm your dedicated Inside Account Manager. We have a pretty cool webinar for you this morning. The FAA has a lot of Windows systems in their environments, and automating these is key to ensuring that your team can operate as efficiently as possible. Ansible can be used across these environments to manage and automate these Windows systems without the knowledge of how to use a Linux terminal. We'll use the time today to dive into Ansible and the various system and administrator tasks that can be automated using Red Hat's platform. Now, before we get started, I did want to go over some ground rules for today. First, by default, everyone's mic and video feed has been muted. We ask that everyone instead put their questions on the Q&A section located on the right-hand side of the screen. Jonathan Beach and I will be taking questions as we go along, and we will be taking intermittent pauses throughout the presentation to answer your questions. At the end of the presentation, we will go over any unanswered questions that may need follow-up. I'll begin by putting my email in the chat if anyone has any questions they would like addressed head on. But for now, let's get started. Today, we welcome back a familiar face to many of you, Jonathan Beach, our FAA Solutions Architect here at Red Hat. With that, John, let's talk about our work here automating Windows environments.
Jeff, thank you. Just a microphone and screen check. Can you hear me and see my slide there?
It looks great, John. Thank you.
All right, Jeff, thank you. So, welcome everybody. This is, like what Jeff said, I forget what number webinar we're up to, Jeff, but seems to be going pretty well. So today we want to talk about Ansible and more specifically, automating your Windows environment. We have done a few Ansible webinars so far. We've done one centered just as an overall platform overview, as well as we have done a automating your network environment. So today we're going to talk about your Windows environment. And many people don't know that, Ansible can automate your Windows environment because we're a Linux company, right? So in many IT teams, it's common to have multiple domain-specific tools, right? Your SecOps teams are going to have a different set of tools. Your network team, obviously a different set. And then your security team, a totally different set. So what Ansible does is we want to bring them together and you just use one common tool. And like I said, and a lot of those groups are siloed into various groups. So what we want to do with Ansible is, break down that silo, between the teams, integrating these various tools and processes across your entire organization, and provide clear means to implement new processes and new content and extend automation itself. So why the Red Hat automation platform, right? Is there a single turnkey solution? No. There's never been a single turnkey solution that solves everything for every organization and every group within that organization. And for that reason, the solution can only be a platform. And a platform can be used to build a solution tailored for your individual or group's needs. And that platform is Ansible Automation Platform, right? So why is Ansible Automation? Why are we using the Ansible Automation Platform? It's not Ansible itself, right? So Red Hat Enterprise Linux comes with Ansible Core. It's not just Ansible itself. The characteristics of Ansible makes it so popular is not applied, but it extends your Ansible itself. The power of a single universal language across multiple technology domains. Like I said, we've talked about networking. We're going to talk about Windows today. Again, we can use it in multiple environments. Agentless, right? We're not installing this agent on this device and worrying about that agent being compromised at a later time or having to upgrade that agent, things like that. And you know what? Ansible is simple. It is really simple. I can't say enough about how easy it is to automate an environment or just to create a simple playbook and just see how easy it is to do that playbook and how fast it can do it versus coming from a system admin role like me. Man, I wish I had Ansible in some of the roles in my previous roles in the past. So your entire footprint, right? We can do this on these devices, right? So you see a list of various tasks and the devices we can do it. We can orchestrate fleets of VMs across your open hybrid cloud. We can manage configurations of network equipment as well as servers and other devices. We enable developers that to provision their own storage or VMs versus going to the IT team or the system admin to stand that up. A simple click of the button, they're ready to go. We can integrate firewalls and intrusive detection systems and do streamlined security remediation workflows. And this is some really powerful stuff there. So there's more than 90 certified content collections supporting over 30 technical partners and covering multiple different use cases, right? Like I said a few times now, we talked about networking, we're going to talk about Windows. Ansible's content domain initiatives are designed to support real world use cases and different pieces of your entire enterprise IT stack. And like I said, so we have 90 certified platforms. This discussion today is about Windows, and we have over 90 Windows modules, as well as over 1,300 PowerShell resources. So, how do we do this, right? We got to create first. So at the core of each automation language is the language itself, in which the content of the automation is written, right? We're not going to use this really hard language that takes weeks, months, years to really hone in on. So we start with a language that looks like, how it can be written, created, and how the content written language is managed. Companies writing their own automation scripts, I used to do this. I used to write shell scripts to quote unquote automate my job. I would spend days, weeks, trying to make that script better. So, Ansible makes this a lot easier, right? Example, configuring Cisco switches, some groups instead, create bash scripts, like I said, which are hard to read and harder to maintain and update, right? Now, who's going to update that script? Where's that script going to be kept? If something changes within your Cisco environment, you have to go back in and change that script. So once we're done, what does this all look like at the end? So let's take a look. So this is a playbook, right? This is a simple example, And as we see that it's rather short, right? This, like I said, it's simple. It's all it's really going to do is make sure a service is running. It's going to copy a file over. It's going to disable a firewall, right? So let's dig into each of these, right? Like I said, we're going to look into this. So there's three main components, right? There's the playbook itself, then the modules and the plugins within each one. So this is the playbook, right? A playbook is comprised of one or more plays in an ordered fashion, right? But the term playbook comes from, a sports, more than likely, like a football. The team has a playbook. They have plays that they want to achieve for the end of the game, right? They have a bunch of plays, defensive, offensive, that they need to win the game. To play also, as you can see here, I don't know if you can see my mouse move. It also defines which host we're going to run that play on, right? In my example here, we're going to use a group of hosts called Windows-Web. And the last thing we want to do is, what connection privileges are we going to do? What user are we going to run this playbook as? And in my example, we're going to become the root user, the admin user, and then perform a set of tasks. So let's take a look a little more. So here's our task, right? A task will run a module. What are modules? They're components of the internal logic representing a single step to be done. The modules do things in Ansible. Usually they're written in Python for Linux devices or PowerShell for Windows, like we're going to show today. There is some flexibility here, right? You can obviously use our modules that are delivered with Ansible. You can download modules, or you can even create your own. As I said, that this is a Windows-specific discussion. So here's just a small list of the Windows modules and some of the things that they would do for us. We'll just pick out a few. WinReboot. It's pretty simple. It's going to reboot your Windows device. WinCopy, copy files from the remote location, most likely your Ansible engine, and we're going to copy them over to the Windows host you decide you want to copy them to. So plugins, right? That the plugins are, the pieces of the code that augment Ansible's core functionality. Like I mentioned earlier, the become thing in the play is a plugin itself, right? So we're going to become a different user. So roles are a group of tasks and variables that makes these groups and variables and plays reusable. And I'll show you an example of that coming up in my example further down the line. So demo time. So Jeff, just taking a look here. I don't see any questions. Looking at the attendees. How we looking?
Yeah, John, no questions as of right now. We're actually having some technical difficulties with folks accessing the presentation, but just taking care of that in the back end right now. We can continue.
Okay. So let's dive into this, right? So earlier, it was yesterday afternoon as well as last week, I was working on an environment to present. So it's difficult for me as a Red Hat employee to stand up a Microsoft Windows device, right? I don't have a license. Sure, I can go out and buy one, which is probably a good idea. But however, Red Hat provides these demo environments for us. So yesterday I stood up a demo environment. Here's what our environment looks like. So it sets up a GitLab for me to store all my playbooks, as well as my roles. I have a control node, my Ansible platform, and then I have one instance running a Microsoft Windows server. So, dive into it, shall we? Jeff, just want to confirm you can see my Ansible tower.
Yep, the environment looks great, John.
All right, cool. So, like I said, this environment was stood up yesterday. However, I needed to perform some actions. So I just wanted to go over some of those things today or before we get started. So the first step was I created my credential, or in this case, a student credential. This is just a user password, right, that I'm going to use to PowerShell into the Windows device. So again, my username, student1, and my password's in here. Pretty straightforward. Anybody that has used Ansible in the past should already know this. The second one I created was my Git credential, right? Again, same sort of thing. I'm going to use my Git credential to access my Git repository. And with that said, why do I need this credential? So I'm going to link my Git repository to a project within Tower. So in Tower, I have my Ansible Workshop project that is linked to my Git repository using my Git credential. And I can show you a few more things here. So in our inventory, shop inventory, my host, you'll see two hosts here. You'll see my Ansible node, like I showed you earlier, as well as my Windows server. So one of the cool things that I learned by running through this demo a few months ago as part of a beta test was running ad hoc commands from Tower, right? In my early days, I never knew this was capable, and I believe this is a newer function, not terribly new, but again, my training didn't show me this. So let's do some simple ad hoc commands here, right? I'm going to choose a module. Let's go down here to one in the list, simple win ping. And I'm going to use my machine credential, like I showed you earlier. And then let's launch. Let's see what happens. And hopefully it'll respond. Yep. So we have a success that when I sent that ping, it sent back a response of Pong. Pretty cool. So going back to there, post, check you, we're in command. All right, so we're going to run another module here. Let's service our, I'm sorry, win shell. And then I'm going to use the arguments get service using my user credential and launch. So this is showing me all the services that are either stopped or running on my Windows server device. Cool. Let's run another one. And don't worry, we'll go into some cooler playbooks in a second. Again, we're going to use the same WinShell module. We will get the processes, right? So enter in get processes, my credential, and we'll launch this. Again, this sort of shows us the processes are running, the CPU is almost like a top in relation to the Red Hat Linux. All right, so one more, and then we'll get into some playbooks. We're going to use the setup module. So go back to inventory. And we're going to use my credential. So this is It shows us, again, equivalent to what Linux would be, an Ansible fax, right? So I just wanted to show you that, yeah, I'm running Windows Server 2019 Data Center, major minors, uh, the interfaces, the IP address. Yep. So this is just like Ansible fax, and we'll actually use some of this in a playbook shortly. So speaking of playbooks, I'm going to skip ahead. We'll get there shortly. So like I said, I stood this environment up yesterday. Part of the demo setup is for workshops, right? I can come to your facility. I can do this remotely for you and your organization. And you guys could log in and create these playbooks, write them yourself in a Visual Studio environment, save them to your Git repository, and then link your Git repository to Ansible and run your playbooks from there. So that said, here is your visual code environment that I had set up on my other window here. So Jeff, I'll just do a check-in real quick. How are we doing? Do we resolve those issues?
Nope, John, unfortunately, we're having a little bit of difficulties with Blue Jeans Primetime today. That's requiring a passcode. But we're just full steam ahead from here, and we'll take care of following up with folks afterwards.
Let's see if I can do anything.
I've been doing a bit of work on the back end, and I think it's something we might have to take care of following the presentation.
Okay. Attendee. Looks like passcode is, no, I don't know if that one's required.
I cross-referenced the attendee links and all that and emailed it out to everyone, but it doesn't seem to be working still.
You drop this in the chat, Jeff. See if this helps you.
Yep, that's the one that we've been using, John.
Weird. Okay. Well, we'll have the recording. All right. So let's create a simple playbook, right? So in here, I want to create a playbook that'll perform, like I said, some simple tasks, right? So we're going to install the web server. Again, these plays, these tasks might look similar to what you normally do for on the Linux side. So Win feature, we're going to install the web server, make sure it's present. We're going to make sure that that web server is started. We're going to create a website index.html. We're going to place it in this directory, and then we're going to show our website address. So going over to Tower, I have a template already created, and that template is going to be called, I believe, as basic job template. So from here, again, we give our template a name, a description. So for all these, yesterday I went ahead and checked them all, but today I actually want to run, right? So I checked out the run, save, go back here and show you a couple other things here. I'm going to use my workshop inventory, which again is just the two nodes that I have. My project, which is my Git repository, and my playbook, which is install iis.yaml. Here. I'm going to run using my credentials. I'm going to limit it to just the Windows nodes. And then I will hit launch. So in here, as you saw earlier, the test message I have set as a survey, right? So anytime I launch this job, I can change this to whatever I want. Let's change it to today's date, which is 6/24/2021. Wish it was 20. No, I don't wish it was 2020. Click next. We're going to review it. We're going to click launch. Everybody familiar with Ansible? It starts off, it'll show you the output of that job as it's running through. First thing it does is gather the facts. The next step is it's going to install the Windows server, or the web server. Chugs along. I hope, I guess everybody's going to watch this after the fact now. But I hope everybody's enjoying the weather. 24th here in the new Northeast. It's a beautiful day, 79, low humidity. There's my weatherman talk coming up. All right, so we installed it, and we're going to start the service. Great. And we're going to create that website using that that survey that I entered in the beginning. Cool. And then it's going to output the address. So let's take a look. There we go. Our simple website. Cool. Close you. So let's move on, right? Let's see here. Do I want? Just 1 second. Just trying to get my the right page. So advanced playbooks, right? So we're going to go into our folder here. Go into advanced. Close you. So this is kind of going to show us, one really long playbook, and then creating a role and making that much simpler, right? So here's our very long playbook that is going to, and the reason this is called backup because I run it once and then I create a second one and then use the role. And again, I'll go into roles in a second. So this is sort of doing the same thing as we just did in the simple playbook. However, we're going to loop through various variables. We have two websites we're going to use, both at different ports, and that test message. So our tasks, again, we're going to install, which should already be there. It's going to create a site directory structure with IIS sites. So there's a path. Okay, after we create the directory structure, we're going to create the website, again, using the test message as well as the ports and the paths. We're going to open up the firewalls for various settings. Again, we're going to do that for both sites for 8080 and 8081. We're going to create that website, that index.html, using the item path and with the item sites. We're going to, at the end, show the addresses for both sites. And it's also going to restart the IIS server. So this is a pretty long playbook, right? We kind of don't like to use really long playbooks. We like to break it up into little pieces. But again, we'll get there with a roll. Okay. So there's my play. I believe advanced is the one I want. Yep. So right here, it's site backup is the one I showed you. Again, I'm going to change this to run. Let's save it, launch it. Again, something funny in here. Hi, Jeff. Right, hopefully this will take a little bit faster since I already have the package installed from the previous play. Yeah, as you can see, it said OK, meaning it was already installed, already present, so it didn't do anything. And when it makes a change, it'll say changed, right? So it's creating that directory structure. Open the ports for the firewall. It's creating that simple website. It's going to restart that service. While that's running, let's go ahead and read this. Read the same address as before, just we're going to use the different port. Oh, yep, I created this, so it used a template, this. So I just changed the image to the FAA. So welcome to the FAA Red Hat webinar. Hi, Jeff. So again, this is something I added to that survey, or I could just use the default one. And just to check, let me check 8081. Exactly the same. Cool. So, like I said, that's a really long playbook. So let's kind of change this up a little bit and use a role, right? Let me get to my notes here for that. Ansible roles. All right. So in my directory structure, so I'll go ahead and close. In my advanced, I have a new directory structure, roles, and then within roles, I have a simple role here. So within that directory structure, I have my default directory, my handlers, my tasks, my templates, and my variables. And this is all run from the site playbook. So let's dive a little deeper into each. So let's just show you. Again, this is how simple the playbook that is being run from Ansible Tower looks. What's that? 6 lines, actually really 4 lines of actual words. So it's going to run this IIS simple role. So let's dive a little deeper into each section of this. Our defaults. So like we had in the variable section in the top in the first playbook, again, we just have our 2 sites, our 2 websites that we're opening up, and the variables for each. We're at the name, the port, and the path. And it's going to loop through each of these. Second section is our variables. Let's go down to the variables. Again, this is our default test message that we'll use. Again, this is the variable that it will plug in, and I'll show you where it plugs that in a second. The handlers, like I said, at the end of that previous play, it's going to restart the IIS server. And now the big chunk of a role is the task it's going to run. This is the task section of that big long playbook before. So again, it's doing the same exact thing. It's going to install the web server, which in this case it won't because it's already installed. It's going to create a directory structure, which again, it shouldn't because it should already be there. It's going to create the site using, again, there was particular things that we had in the defaults, like the name, the port, the path. It's going to open up the firewall. Again, it's the same type of playbook, just in smaller sections, smaller chunks that we can reuse in other playbooks. And then the template. Again, we're going to reuse the same template. But again, we're going to use this test message that I'm going to enter in during the survey. Let's take a look. Advanced using a role. Again, I'm going to change this to run. Save it. And we'll launch. And I'll just add a little something here. You know, the Phillies lost to the Nats in a terrible fashion yesterday. And again, the reason I'm changing that, I just want to show you that, you know, it's not using some generic template or I had this recreated. I just want to show you something that shows it actually does work, and it works pretty darn well. Again, we gather facts that already installed because we did it previously. The directory structure already exists. So this should change. Okay. We're reusing the same data. The port should already be open. So this should change because I have a different variable. Excellent. Cool. So let's go back to the website. Let's reload it. So here's our previous one with 8081. It says, hi, Jeff. This should say, there we go. I used the role to create this website. Go Phillies. Just for 8080. Again, same website. Pretty cool. All right. So I'm doing all right with time, Jeff. How are we doing?
Yep, we're doing great, John.
Cool. All right. So that's a role. So updating, right? So I've never been a system admin of Windows devices. I I know that Windows devices are often patched from various organizations, and that those patching schedules seem to be overnight. So you can schedule an Ansible playbook to do that for you, right? You can schedule it to run every night if you want. So here's a simple playbook. It's going to use the Win Update module. Uh, I'm going to have different categories, which I'll show you what that looks like in a second using the survey, and whether or not I want to reboot the device after patching. Right? It's pretty simple. So let's go into Tower, a template that I already created, Windows Update. I'm going to click Run, Save, but before I actually launch it, so like I said, in this directory structure, Win Update site YAML is the playbook I'm going to run. So here's our survey, right? So I created a survey, which will prompt me for 2 questions, which you'll see in a second. However, the multiple choice sections that I can use here as far as the categories of the category names that I want to update within Windows. So there's a huge list of here that are available. And you can put in a default answer if you're constantly using the same ones over and over again. Cancel out of that. Like I said, it'll prompt me twice. So is that what I want to run? And I can select any of these. I'm not going to at this time? And do I want to reboot it after, if it installs, it'll reboot? Sure. Next, quick launch. And not knowing, I believe, yeah, this is already patched device. So the image that we're using is already up to date, right? So it's not going to find any updates here. But if it did, it would update those packages that needed updates and then reboot the device. So since it didn't install anything, it didn't reboot. So we came back as successful. So Chocolatey. Again, I'm not a Windows admin, never been. However, this is a module that you would use for package management, sort of like Red Hat's Yum or DNF. So let's look into some of these. So the first one I want to do is, install a package. Again, quick, simple playbook. The variables we're going to use, we're going to install 2 packages with a specific version, Node.js and Python. So the first task, it's going to use Chocolatey to install Node.js at that version, and then loop through to the next one in Python 3.6. After that, it'll check each version of Python and Node.js, and at the end, it's going to output the version of each. Pretty simple playbook. Install packages, run, save. Again, just for consistency, Chocolatey directory, install packages. I would try to interact and talk with people, but you guys are muted. Jeff, how's the cat doing?
The cat is locked in the bedroom upstairs, so he won't be screaming at us during the presentation.
Hey,
He's
man, the audience is good. I would love to hear cheers from the cat, right? He would tell me what a great job I'm doing.
Don't worry,
Um,
we've had quite a lot of people express interest in seeing the recording afterwards.
that's good. We'll get a lot of hits on YouTube this week. Right, that gets deposited in your Bitcoin account, right, Jeff? Every time somebody visits that site.
Someone's got to make the money around here, you know?
Right. So, as you can see, it made a change. So it installed Node.js, it installed Python with those specific versions, went through and checked the Python and Node.js, and it outputted my which versions they actually are. Excellent. So the next thing I want to do is, so I specified which version of those packages I wanted to install. But let's say at a later date, oh man, a critical update. So I want to update those packages to the latest version, right? So this way we know we're running the latest version of Node.js, the latest version of Python, as well as we're going to use the Chocolatey thing and update all the packages on the Windows server. But I could specify Python to state latest. But in this case, I'm just going to update everything on this Windows server to the latest package. Here, again, check, run, save. I think I got 10 minutes left, Jeff, but I'm doing good on time. I think I got one more after this.
Perfect. It's going great.
Yeah, so everybody watching this on replay, I'm really sorry about Blue Jeans this time. I'm not sure why I would have prompted you for a password. Jeff, I want to say we saw something similar before, but I don't remember. I know we had a problem where they couldn't see our slides.
Yeah, well, I think this is our ninth webinar that we've done so
Yeah.
far, but we did take a little bit of a lapse there. I think it's just something we're going to have to follow up internally with our video
Hmm.
streaming platform, Blue Jeans Primetime.
Yep. Yeah, that is weird. I take responsibility because I bet you they added a new check and maybe I missed it. So I apologize, everybody watching us on YouTube. Uh, the best part is you can watch us anytime you want now, right, Jeff? Uh, all right, so it updated all the packages on the Windows Server. It's going to check the Python. Cool. So as you can see, previously we installed, I forget what it was, 3.6 and 13. So now it's up to 3.9.5 for Python and 16.4. Right. So now we know, at least for Python and Node.js, is we're update to the latest version. I should have no security problems, no bugs. Right. So the last section here that I wanted to go over with you was um, sort of like facts, right? The Ansible facts for a Linux device. Um, so we're going to go through that facts and configurations over here. So we're going to go through a rather long playbook, longer than the last few easy ones, right? So we're going to go ahead and gather those facts. Um, we're going to display those facts. We're going to create a new directory for the caching directory. Um, and then we're going to configure Chocolatey to use that newly created directory as its cache location. We're also going to change the execution timeout setting, right? So we're going to see that when it spits out the configuration first, and then the last thing it's going to do is going to spit it out again. So we should be able to see that change happen. Let's go ahead, guy. All right, so here's all the facts that spit out, and I believe the one we want to look at is timeout seconds 2700. All right, so you'll see down here, after it makes those changes, which it made here, command execution timeout seconds 3600. There we go. We created a cache location and changed a setting within Chocolatey. So again, this is something you guys could do as far as your Windows automation, right? You can, again, the possibilities are almost endless at this point. So that's my demo portion of this. So let me go back to my slides here. Interview you. I don't really have anything else to show you. So where do you go next, right? If you want more information about Ansible automation platform, feel free to reach out to Jeff and I. Like I said earlier, we can come out to your site. We can do it virtually. Hopefully, we'll all start moving again. So on-site workshops are available. That's something I can do, as well as the other members of the account team. There's tons of documents. Like I said, the Red Hat has a YouTube channel. Jeff and I have a YouTube channel for these types of events. We also have, training consulting, if you guys are new to Ansible and you want to get some training, as well as maybe you're not new to Ansible, but you're new to Windows automation. We do offer training consulting for that. The last slide here, I do want to mention Ansible Fest 2021. It is scheduled for September, the end of September. I believe it is an all virtual one again this year. However, it is useful. They have a lot of great talks. Also, the last slide, thank you for coming today or watching this at a later time on demand. But thank you for coming out. Thank you for being a Red Hat customer. One other note is that expect some news releases on Ansible Automation Platform. We do have something coming up next month in July. It should be pretty cool. We should have a lot of great news surrounding Ansible Automation Platform at that time. So expect some emails from Jeff and I when that news is released. I'm teasing you with the news, but I can't tell you too much about it. But yep, Jeff, I'm going to hand it back to you. Thank you everybody for coming and watching, or watching on demand again. And I look forward to seeing and talking to you hopefully all soon.
Thank you for that, John. We appreciate it. Yeah, to conclude everything today, everyone, I'd like to thank a few people that helped to make this event happen. First of all, of course, thank you to John for taking the time to talk to us about Ansible with Windows. John, I've been working with you for about a year and a half now, and it's always quite a pleasure. Thank you for all the diligence. We really appreciate it. As with most webinars, thank you to everyone for taking the time to attend. I know this one's a little bit peculiar today, but if you're watching the recording as well, to let you know, we will be in contact, and we really appreciate you making the time for that. And also Catherine Brady from the Red Hat account team, who works very hard to ensure that each and every one of our customers across the FAA is aware of our upcoming events that we work so hard to put on. I'd also like to thank our partners CDW and DLT for taking the time to set this event up. It's truly a team effort around here, and we greatly appreciate everyone's effort here. I'd like to take the time right now to plug our next webinar in the FAA webinar series. On July 29th, we will be talking about Red Hat Insights, our predictive analytics tool that is newly integrated with each of our products as of a couple years ago. We'll, of course, make sure to let everyone here know in advance of this event happening. Myself and the rest of the Red Hat account team would like to thank everyone again for coming out today and listening to us. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing everyone in late July.